Are you here waiting for the bus? You know they decommissioned this stop a while ago, right? Well, it looks kind of weird just seeing a dude at an abandoned bus stop by himself. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, you look kinda like a loser. Mlynar is the operator everyone bashed me in for not pronouncing his name properly. He's a Liberator guard, meaning he stands there and reads his newspaper all day, charging up his attack. This charge can add up to double his attack on top of his base attack after 40 seconds, and it increases linearly for every passing second. Off skill, Liberators don't block or attack, but once you press the button, they go sicko mode with their 3 block. Mlynar's first talent increases his damage on attack and increases it some more if there are 3 or more enemies nearby. He also gets some fancy damage reduction if there are 3 or more enemies near him. Any increased damage is always nice, and the scaling is multiplicative since it's attack scale, so that makes it even better. The further increase in attack if there's more than 3 enemies near him sounds like it's a bit finicky to use, but with the way Mlynar's kit works, you're gonna be placing him where all the clusters of enemies are anyways, so more often than not, he'll have this increased talent up. Mlynar's second talent gives him increased taunt on deployment and makes all Casimir's operators reflect true damage as a portion of his attack when they're hit. Liberator guards have pretty tanky stats, so the taunt on Mlynar is safe for him to have. His taunt can actually be useful for protecting your other operators by taking ranged aggro. The true damage reflection is a nice bonus for Casimir's ops, but it's really nothing that big off skill. You play Mlynar like you play Sitter and Shelter. You ignore the other skills because they're just straight up inferior to the third skill. His third skill doubles his trait, meaning the trait that can double his attack, well now it quadruples his attack, so his attack stat can come up to 5 times its base. His range gets the big range expansion becoming similar to a Deadeye Sniper, and he even gets another attack scale modifier. Mlynar can attack up to 5 enemies, and enemies in his range will take true damage as a portion of his attack when a Casimir's operator attacks them. For every enemy killed in his range, Mlynar will lose 10% of his base trait, which seems bad for him until you realize it's basically irrelevant. If all these mechanics sound too much for you to actually take in, let me dumb it down. Everyone likes Silverash, right? You like his nice hot chunk of woman bait with his deep velvety voice. You wish he could carry you in his arms and kiss you goodnight? Well, now throw him in the trash can, because Old Horseman does twice his DPS with almost double the damage per hit. At max stats, Mlynar can deal over 4,000 damage per swing, and since most cases only use Silverash for the damage, TSS has now become second place to whatever this monster is. Mlynar can also be cycled more consistently than waiting for SA's 90 nasty SP cooldown. I've already made a deeper comparison in the 4th guard analysis video I had to do a while ago, so I'm not gonna compare the two too much here, but yeah. Was it surprising he was used in max risk CC11's burst strat? No, not at all. He kinda just swept through everything and called it a day, and his taunt gets used here to bait ranged attacks. Good job, Mlynar. Okay, let's go to the next operator. Hey, can you come take a look at her Fumo? It's not functioning properly. What the hell? Bro, $500 worth of Taco Bell gift cards is way overpriced. Wait, why Taco Bell specifically? Oh, right. Counts it. Stainless is built like Tartaglia from Genshin Impact. He's an Artificer supporter, like Roberta and Winflit, giving him fancy summon tokens that can buff other operators. Stainless's first talent gives him the summons, the same way the first talents of Summoner supporters and Tactician Vanguards have an obligatory talent tied to their branch. His second talent gives his devices a 70% chance to be refunded when they're destroyed, which is nice, so you don't have to worry about spamming his skill to constantly get them back. Stainless's skill 2 makes his devices mini SP batteries with 1 SP every 3.5 seconds. It doesn't actually say it in the in-game skill description for some reason, but the devices have an HP loss of 0.4% of their max HP per second, meaning they'll last a bit over 4 minutes. When the skill is active, the device's SP battery goes even harder at the cost of doubling the HP loss, and Stainless will get a new device when the skill ends. Since the devices can last for over 2 skill cycles, Stainless can easily replenish his SP batteries if you just spam the skill hard enough. His SP generation is nice to have, but it's hard to find a use for it outside of niche situations, but if you want a niche situation, I found one. The only record of his S2 on ArcRec is this E1 level 1 only clear of H11-1, where he's used to SP battery Black Knight for a permanent sleep stall, just like the good old days of CC8. Other than this specific clear, there's not really much else I can come up with other than generic SP funsies. Stainless's S3 has even more jank mechanics that the game doesn't tell you. It allows his turrets to be hit by allies, which includes other summons. Turrets lose 0.25% of their max HP every time they're hit by an op, and after the 5th hit, the turret will fire an attack, dealing big physical damage to the targeted enemy in its range, and smaller physical damage in an AoE. If Artificers hit the device, it will heal it for 1% of its max HP. Activating Stainless's skill gives him more attack and attack speed, basically letting him charge his turrets faster. This all sounds convoluted, but there's even more jank to unfold. The devices count as enemies, which is how operators attack them. This means you can't buff them with Auk or Warfarin, since those operators can only buff allies, but something like Sculptor S3 in this BIEX8 clear can charge them. Black Knight, the boss, not the operator, then disarms all the ops in the area, but she doesn't disarm the turrets because, again, they count as enemies, so the turrets just kill her instead. Even though Sculptor S3 charges the turrets, Spec Ultras still can't. I don't know, there's just a lot of whack-ass things I'm probably missing, but Stainless is weird and has many quirky mechanics. I actually wasn't expecting it at first, but Spec Ultra's Pineapple Pizza was actually pretty good. We should definitely go back there again, because I really liked it. Wait a second, no. Texas the Omertosa is pretty broken. She's a fast redeploy with all of her skills being passives instantly activated on deployment. Her first talent gives her way more attack when her skill is active, and when she kills an enemy for the first time, she'll heal back to full and restart her skill again. Right off the bat, Texas already has a pretty gross attack buff straight from her talent, and the mechanic of killing an enemy for the first time allows her to survive longer and get more damage in a lot of situations. Since she's a fast redeploy, Tex Ultra has squishy stats, so the healing comes in pretty useful to her. Her second talent just gives her a lot of damage reduction and attack speed before her first kill. These two talents basically ensure Texas survives longer and gets to make use of a longer skill duration. Tex Ultra's second skill immediately does arts damage in the 8 surrounding tiles and inflicts a res debuff on them for 10 seconds. For the rest of the skill duration, Texas has increased attack and her attacks will hit twice and deal arts damage. The most nasty thing about this skill is how high the skill DPS is. Tex Ultra can easily match and surpass Surtur's skill DPS, and she even has better res ignore than Surtur against enemies with 70 or more arts resistance. Surtur might have more total damage, multi-target, and invulnerability, but now you can just slap Tex Ultra anywhere you see a problematic enemy on the map, and she comes back up in 18 seconds for you to spam her again. Her third skill deals arts damage in the 8 surrounding tiles twice, and stuns all the enemies for 2 seconds. 4 enemies in the tiles around her will also get an occasional sword from the sky dropped on their head, dealing arts damage and stunning them for 2 seconds. The damage on the skill is a lot less than her second, but it's still good enough to solo Risk 21 of CC11, so that's fun. The sword rain can also hit aerial enemies, so Tex Ultra with her third skill got to solo R88. The sword rain range that continues after the initial hit makes this skill more versatile than her second skill, but her second just straight up murders everything out of her range. Texas the Omertosa's mod gives her attack if there are no allies in the 4 adjacent tiles. The talent upgrades give her more attack when her skill is active. Yeah, this mod is pretty basic. Attack equals good. More damage. Okay, that's it. Next operator. In my defense, the pizza was really good, and you guys should try it. Life sentence to the Ursus minds? The law doesn't even exist in the first place. Penance is the operator everyone wishes they could be stepped on by her. Wait, I actually wrote that. She's a Mudrock type defender, unhealable with ally attacks, but still healable through passive healing. You already know what passive healing is, I'm not gonna bother explaining it. Instead of healing through shields like Mudrock though, Penance doesn't heal at all. Instead, her main mechanic is shields. Okay, Penance has a different type of shield than Mudrock, so we're gonna call it Barrier. Barrier is basically the Shining S2 or Nightingale S2 stuff. It's an extra bar of HP with a cap of 3 times her max health, so basically Penance can quadruple her health, though this requires her to snowball crazy through enemy waves. Her first talent gives her barrier equal to half her HP. If she kills an enemy, she gets 10% of her HP as barrier. Because any damage to Penance's HP becomes permanent since she has no way of healing herself, instant barrier on deployment is pretty good, and this talent also shows the main source of how Penance gets her extra bar, which is killing enemies. Her second talent gives her funny arts reflect damage if she has barrier up and gets attacked. This can actually go pretty hard and helps cripple enemies to let Penance one-tap them for more barrier. Her second skill makes her stop attacking and gives her 60% shelter, reducing physical and arts damage by over half. Penance will deal arts damage to all enemies in the 8 surrounding tiles per second, and she gets double the barrier gain per kill when the skill is active. The skill is great at increasing her barrier effectiveness with the damage reduction and barrier gain, but the damage is kind of meh, which isn't a bad thing. She's a defender, and you have plenty of other operators that do damage for her. Overall, it's a really good skill for tanking, since Penance herself already has tanky stats, so the shelter really helps her out, mitigating everything to basically nothing. Penance's third skill is defensive recovery, meaning a certain someone synergizes with her. She immediately gains more barrier than her max health while also slowing her attack interval. Penance's attack becomes mega massive, which also makes her reflect mega massive, able to almost one-shot small peons. It also increases her taunt level. With enough cycles of this skill, you can tank just about anything because Penance becomes the essence of a Ling summon, which is just a massive HP pull and stat stick. This is how she can just casually tank Patriot swipes and aura like it's nothing, with her reflect chipping him away. The main limiting factor on this skill is the defensive recovery charge, which can be problematic if you're unable to cycle it properly. Both of Penance's skills help you snowball barrier, but if there's not a lot of small enemies around for her to kill, or if she can't get her skill up in time in S3's case, Penance becomes extremely vulnerable. You either stomp the stage with her, or she gets curbed into oblivion, but usually it's the former since she's a beefy stat stick. Her second skill is actually more fun to play with in my opinion, but yeah, that's about it. Goodbye.